Hello, dear planner friends. Today I come to you with a new video for the Eule Planner. As you can see, I'm holding the 24 version in my hand here. And this video will be good for all future versions as well, though, because the inside is always the same, except, of course, the monthly overview, which I have been changing almost every year for the last few years. But I think I've finally arrived at a version now that I like, that my customers like as well. So I will share more about that later when I give you the walkthrough of the planner. Just a brief history on the Eule Planner. I have, as you can see, from the journals here behind me, I have always used planners in my business and also in my corporate life before. And I always loved, using analog together with digital. There's just something, and I think there have been studies on that. There's just something about using, putting actual pen to paper that activates certain areas in our brains, and it makes it a bit easier to retain knowledge and to remember appointments and things like that. And I don't know, I just always like it. I think a lot of creative people will be with me on that. And at the end of 2018, I thought, I haven't quite found what works for me. I liked bullet journals, but I didn't like to always have to draw up the charts. And it was always quite a manual effort. Then I also tried various annual planners with weekly overviews. My favorite was the Leuchtturm one. However, there was never enough space for notes, and I always needed to have a separate planner for notes. So I then thought, well, why don't I, design my own planner? So I did that at the end of 2018. I shared my process with my audience, and they said, wow, we would really like one of those as well. So I thought, okay, I'll put it into production and see how it goes. So that was 5 years ago. We're actually entering the 6th year now of the Eule Planner. And it's grown a really loyal fan base, So I produce it every year. I have it made in Ohio. I have a local printer there, and local as in US, not local to me because I'm on the West Coast. But it is 100% made in the US using materials that are also 100% made in the US. That was really, really important to me. And, and they ship it to me, and then I pack it up and ship it out into the world. And so I wanted to give you an overview of what is inside the planner and why so many people love it. It is designed especially for digital entrepreneurs. So let us dive in. All right, let us have a look at the Eule Planner. Although actually, before we do that, I just want to give you a very quick overview of what I used to do. So this is one of the bullet journals that I used to use, and I created my charts, and I did that pretty much every year. So here I had my blog posts, here I had my newsletters, then here I had my planner. This is when I was still a web designer. So I had like web design projects in here, for instance, and I had my, kind of weekly overview of, tasks that I do, or like a weekly schedule, which I don't really adhere to religiously. And then here is my annual overview. And at the time, I actually used this to look at my web design projects. And then I had a particular 3-day project that I used to do, maintenance and support, and then the same for the second half of the year. I loved having this overview of, what I was working on. And then for the week, I used to, manually basically draw up the week, and then I would have 2 columns. On the left, I always have appointments, and then on the right, important to-dos or notes. And then here on the right side of this, I would have my to-dos basically. And I mean, that worked. I did this for a few years. But then, I decided I wanted to create my own planner. so that I didn't have to always draw up everything manually. So let us have a look inside the Eule Planner. So as you open it up, you get your, little welcome note from me here. And then we have our annual overview of the whole year. And then here, this is basically what you saw in my, in my other planner here, if you remember. This is the one that I used to use for my projects. And these days, I use this annual overview for, it has 3 columns. I use the first one for biz, the second one for personal, and the third one for birthdays. But, these you can all fill in yourself. And so you can basically use it for what makes most sense to you. That is one of the things that was really important to me when I designed the Eule Planner. I wanted it to be flexible so that people can use it in the way that works best for them and their businesses and their lives. I use this also for personal stuff. This is not just business, but you can use it just for business. It's entirely up to you. And as you can see, I also sometimes like to use, washi tape and things like that, little stickers. You can make it as minimalistic and tidy and neat, or as messy as you like. I do get quite messy in here because I just use it, all the time. So here we also have our daily schedule, and that's basically, the week. And this is for people who like to have at least some structure to the week. As you know, if you run your own business, we make our own time. And that is, of course, the beauty of running our own business. But sometimes it's good to have a bit of structure. And this was certainly helpful when I was transitioning from my corporate life, to having my own business. And these days, this is pretty loose, mostly Mondays are usually my admin days. Tuesdays and Thursdays is when I have calls like Ask Me Anything sessions. Then Wednesdays are reserved for content, so that's when I write a newsletter, for instance. My bookkeeping I do every Friday. But this is by no means set in stone. My week is pretty fluid. But I think, if you are someone who likes to have a bit of structure and who likes to work to a schedule, then this will be very helpful for you. On the next page, we have our 2024 goals and habits. There are 2 columns, one for business and one for personal. Again, I like to, break this up just a little bit. So for business, I break it into 2 categories if you want. What do I want to focus on? How do I want to, connect with people in next year? And then for personal, lose weight. That's on here every year. I look forward to the year when this is not going to be on here. Maybe 2024 is that year. And I actually have to even lose more than 50 pounds. But, that is a story for another day. But it just helps, so for personal, my categories are consistency and community. But you can use it however you want. You can also add more, business, personal, maybe you want to have something for family here, something, for community as well. It's really up to you, how you want to use that. And, these are just, I think it's nice to just be a little intentional about what we would like to do next year, and some of the things we would like to achieve. For me, everything is always a bit fluid, but it's nice to actually think about this just for a little bit, and to set some goals. And I do every now and then, grab my Eule Planner and I go back to this page and I have a look, like when I do my end of quarter reviews, for instance, I have a look at this and ask myself, well, how am I doing here with my goals? So it's useful. Then on the next couple of pages, this is all about content. As digital entrepreneurs, content is quite important. Many of us have blogs and we have newsletters, we use social media. So here we have a content planner. This is where, I jot down ideas that I have. So if I have an idea and I don't want to lose it, I do also sometimes store it digitally. I use Notion, so I will put things in there as well. But sometimes it's just nice to just write it all out, so I just can quickly grab my Eule Planner and write it down. And then here I can say, where do I want to publish this? What's the media that I'm going to use for this? Then on the right here, I love this one here. This is for the newsletter. Now it has entries for up to 33 because that's basically the space that I had. It used to be, I used to send maybe 1 or 2 newsletters a month, and I still more or less do that. So 24 was usually enough. But there are sometimes a couple of months when I send a little bit more. For instance, when I have a big sale, which I, have like once a year. And so I just created a little bit more space here for more newsletters. But generally, I do not like to bombard my audience with newsletters. And, but, again, this is entirely individual, how you, what kind of strategy you use for your email marketing. But what I love about this is, first of all, I can see how my mailing list grows. Now, these are not actually real numbers here. I just jotted things down. And then your open rate, So here I can always see which newsletters have done really well. Now, we know that open rates are not the most reliable metric these days. Because people who use Apple products, for instance, there is a setting in there where you can turn off that kind of tracking, and then it always shows as opened, even if someone didn't open it. So it's not the most reliable metric, but it still gives a bit of an idea. Like for me, it's often in the 60s and sometimes even 70s. And but I know that, that this is not all true open rates. Still gives you, a little bit of an idea. Then here we're continuing with content. So we have a whole spread here for blogging. Now, if you don't blog, you can use it for something else. You can absolutely white out the titles or overwrite them, put some washi tape on there, whatever you like. And so I do blog, although I don't blog nearly as much as I should. But hey, I always have the best of intentions. And one of these days, I will fill this up. My goal is always to publish 4 posts a month, but I very, very rarely do that. I will show you in a little moment some real statistics from my last year. Then on the right side here, I have a page for what I call mingling. And mingling is really all about networking. It's just the way I call it. I prefer the name mingling. And it sounds like more fun, right? And so here we have 4 columns, and you can use it for when, for instance, you have guests on your own blog, or if you have a guest post on someone else's blog, podcasts, summits, webinars, anything like that you do. It's really good planning tool. It's so because I do regularly do things like this. And, and it's just engagement and connecting with other people, and basically mingling is a big part of my SEO. And it's also what I love about having an online business. I do love meeting other people and working with other people, and so see if you can make good use of that. Then here we get to the statistics, and we have 8 columns. You can name them however you want them. Again, these are all made up numbers, but I like to, on the left, I usually put, my newsletter, my lead magnets. If you had a membership, you could put your membership numbers here. And then here, I like to put my social numbers, Instagram, YouTube, and so on. Now you will see at the bottom, there is also a total row. That is if you want to use this for financials, for instance. I also have in the past used this for my income, for instance, when I was a web designer. So I had website projects in the first column. I had maintenance projects in the next. so I would use this just to keep track of my financials. It's very useful. I love doing that. And that is why, we have the total row here as well. Then here is the project and habits tracking planner pages. So basically, for each month, you get 5 rows here. And this is where you can track habits, for instance, or projects. Again, this is what I used a lot when I was a web designer, because then I could see at a glance, oh, okay, I'm busy with this project. So, if someone came to me and wanted me to design a website for them, then I would just have a look at this and say, okay, I have time here, in April. And sorry, I'm booked out the next 3 months. So that did happen. So that was just a really nice way to see this at a glance, and also to basically not overcommit myself. There's only so much you can do as one person. Now, again, you're completely flexible here how you want to use that. So for instance, here, let's say you want to track drinking enough water every day. So you could just do this, create little circles, make them blue when you've done it, or here, track your water by number of glasses that you drink every day. Whatever, or steps, maybe you want to track your steps. And I know quite a few people who use this as a tracking tool, and it is certainly very, very helpful for that. So we have basically 4 pages for this, so here is the first half of the year, here's the second half of the year, and then we have a couple of blank pages. And then we go into the first month. Now, every month at the beginning has the monthly overview. And this is the one that I mentioned earlier that I keep changing a little bit. But I think this is the format that I really like now. And so basically, because I had it on one page before, and I had it vertical, and that was, the columns were too narrow. Then I had it where you had to, basically move it around like that. But I never liked doing that. And neither did actually quite a few people who had reached out to me. And they like to just have it lie flat without having to turn the calendar or the planner. And so we are back at this one. We've had this one before, and this was always my favorite, actually. So, we have, obviously, the week has 7 days, so we cannot split it evenly, but it works pretty well like that. We have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday on the left, and then the rest of the days on the right. And then here on the left, this is new as well. We have actually a review area. So basically, this is where you can review the last months, the previous months. I think this is so helpful. Just look at what were your challenges, your wins, your lessons. Sometimes there are months when I think, I feel like I never get anything done. But then when I actually look at it, I realize, oh my gosh, no, actually I did quite a lot. And I write it down because I will forget otherwise. And when I do my end of year review, it's just very helpful to come back to this part here and see, well, yeah, gosh, I got a lot done. And we had some really good milestones here. And usually what I do, this is just me personally, some people just literally write a little paragraph here. It's almost like a little journal. I just like to write out, so plus is basically all the positive things. Minus is, the challenges, so for instance, overwhelm, that can be in here. But that's just, how I like to do it. You, again, can use this whichever way makes most sense to you. And then on the right side here, we're looking ahead. And then we just put down, January goals and to-dos. We have space for 9 here. And that's literally because there was space for 9. But also, I feel, we shouldn't definitely have more than that. If you have more goals or more important to-dos than 9 or 10, then you're probably doing too much. So I usually find, I don't often even use all of these. And then what I started doing last year or this year rather, as it's still 2023 as I'm recording this, is for any important to-do that I have, I put down what is the first or next step that I have to take towards this to-do or towards this goal. Very helpful, because then you have to literally think about, okay, what do I actually have to do? It's one thing to have a goal, but the next thing is, well, you have to take the first step towards your goal. And by actually writing it out, I got so much done, more done, since I started using this. It's quite amazing, something so simple. Anyway, so that is our monthly overview. And then we have, oops, I must have skipped this when I prepared this. And then here we have our weekly spread. And the weekly spread, similar again to what you saw in my bullet journal. We have the weekly overview on the left. We have 2 columns. And I personally like to use the left for appointments and then the right for important to-dos or notes. Some people like to use this with AM, PM, or business, personal. So again, you have a lot of flexibility here. And then on the right, we have our to-dos. So we have 2 columns here as well. So I use this for business and for personal. But again, you can categorize this or not, however you like. And then we have a little bit of space here for notes. Let me just show you in a blank one. So you have some space here for just some high-level notes. So for instance, when I launched a new course, then it's just for me to remember, like, where do I need to announce this new course? So I use this section for something like that, for instance. So yeah, on my website, I have to do this, and email and socials. And it's so satisfying to check things off. And then I just, go and complete these things. Very, very helpful. And then here is what I absolutely love about this planner. After every week, we get 2 blank pages. And this I use so much. All the time, for planning, for strategizing, for notes. When I was a web designer, I used it for client notes or when I had calls. Just having, like a little bit of space here and then a full 2-page spread after every week. That is what makes the Eule Planner so special. And that is also what I know a lot of its fans really, really love as well, that we have this extra space for notes, and then we just continue with that. And then here we get to our next monthly overview. And that is it, so we just do that. At the end, we have a few more blank pages, just in case you have like some really important notes that you don't want to lose in the middle of the year. You can put these here, so we have a few pages like that. And that's it. So the Eule Planner has a little elastic here, so you can use that, if you want to close it. It is made of a really nice, actually, faux leather. The date is stamped on the spine as well. And of course, we have to have our little owl here. The paper is a slightly off-white, so it's not, so it's like a slight cream color. And we have a flat lay. Now, when the planner is brand new, you have to use it a little bit, but it is designed to be a flat lay, and it does, so I always have it actually open on my side, as I use it. And the paper is really nice, it's, what was it? Was it 60 grams? I can't quite remember, actually. That information is on the sales page. And but it's thick enough to love most pens and even fountain pens, but it's not too thick, but it's also not too thin. I think it's just right. It just has a really nice, luxurious feel to it. and it's all made here in the US. So to finish, I wanted to just show you a couple of real life examples from my planner this year. And now, you know, the year is almost over. If you just see here, I mean, I use this planner like all the time, and it's just, you know, it's almost like my pet. You know, I just love how it feels. And so just some examples here, you know, so here, for instance, what we talked about earlier, the blog posts and the mingling. And again, this year was really bad for blogging for me, actually. My blog is still doing really well. But, you know, maybe this will also encourage you or comfort you a little bit, you know, if you always feel, oh, I don't blog enough, you know. I mean, you can still do really well, you know, just make sure you have high quality blog posts. And then we did, you know, a good amount of mingling last year or this year as well, you know, some webinars, Ask Me Anything sessions. And then I just wanted to share a couple of examples how I use the in-between pages. You know, so here, for instance, you know, I took a deep dive into Kajabi this year. And so I used this spread here, you know, where I basically compared the two, Squarespace and Kajabi. Works really well for that. Or here, you know, when I was launching a new course, I just had my final list here, you know, to finish this course. It just is so helpful to write these things out, you know, and then so satisfying to just check them off. Anyway, so I hope that this was really helpful, and just go to my website. That is where you will be able to purchase it. If you have any questions, you know, just go to the contact page and send me an email or leave a question in the description, not in the description, below the video. And yeah, so thank you very much for watching.